Stop gaslighting yourself with good vibes only. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of feeling your emotions and give you tools to connect your emotions in a deeper meaning, to walk through them, understand why they're coming up, and tools to help you not get stuck and lost in your emotions. I am Mystic Michelle with Mystic Wisdom Healing. I'm an intuitive mystic healer, tarot reader, and space holder.
And I'm Julie Johnson of Heart Alchemy, Intuitive Guidance and Healing. I'm a therapist, spiritual coach, energy healer, and reader.
Well, let's do this.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So, you know, when you're having one of those days where you're just in a mood, nothing seems to be going right, people are telling you things and you're taking it way more personally than you know you should, and it just feels like everything is poking you. What do you do on those days, and how do you move forward through those awarenesses? And that is what we're going to explore today, and to give you some tools on how to work through those days and the importance of those days and how they can assist you in your healing.
Love it.
So, Julie, you were telling me earlier that this has been coming up in your life.
Yeah.
So, pull us in.
Well, okay. I experience these kinds of days. I see my friends experience these kinds of days. No matter where they are on their healing journey, no matter how healed I think I am, I can have these days where I'm just like there's just something there. No matter how many times I tell myself I should feel fine.
There's that awful should word.
Yes. And it's like we can decide from our minds how we should or shouldn't be feeling based on what's happening around us. Like you were describing, like you just feel like things keep poking you, or people say things and you take it personally. You know, my very wise mind can be like, well, you shouldn't feel that way. They didn't mean it. You shouldn't feel that way. Whatever. You should just get over it. Like, it's not a big deal. Okay, on one level, that's not true, right? Like, yeah, they probably didn't mean it that way. Yeah, I am maybe being a little sensitive, but I think I have a history in myself of doing this, of like, I shouldn't feel this way. If it's a feeling I don't like, I shouldn't feel this way, unless it's like really clear and apparent, like someone punches me in the face. I'm going to feel angry, right? And I'm going to let myself feel angry and like get really feisty.
But why did they punch me in the face?
And then I'll overanalyze it later. I'll overanalyze it to death later and be really upset about it. But in the moment, I'm going to react, appropriately. But, I've done that a lot of that. Oh, there's just a lot of this, what I might label as like negative feelings or lower vibes or whatever, just coming up, some emotion, some moodiness coming up. And I just I'm like, oh, it's fine. I'm fine. And when I do that, I think I miss the opportunity to recognize that when there's something like that coming up, especially on those sensitive days where nothing seems to be going your way, or everything seems to feel like a personal attack or whatever, or you start doom spiraling in your head about what this thing might mean for your future, whatever we do, I might, if I ignore that, push it away and just be like, well, I'm just grumpy, I'm missing an opportunity to connect in with what's arising in me to be healed. Just because, like, say, if you said something to me that hurt my feelings that my conscious mind knows you did not mean in any way, if I'm taking it that way, it's probably poking at a wound that just needs some love and attention, not just to be like swept under the rug.
Absolutely. Now, a question for you is, in these moments that you can kind of think of and recall having, when you choose to sweep it under the rug, how long does that last for you?
Oh, I can be pretty good at it.
I mean the angry, the like not sure why your emotions, like the mood that you're in because of this
Yeah.
sweeping under a rug. How long does that last for
It's a
you?
great question. I think it depends on what it is and
Mhm.
how much. So it tends to, maybe I don't feel it really strongly. I feel it kind of like when I push it away, it's just kind of subtle or there or kind of pokes its head back up. If it's a small enough thing that I'm like repeatedly sweeping it under the rug, I'll probably have some sort of like trigger moment later where this energy actually does come out, like like boom, or
And usually not on the right person.
right, or it is on the right person but not for the right reason and not in a healthy loving way.
Mm-hmm.
I think of this
Fair.
this this so okay, this topic so for me relates to people pleasing, um even people pleasing myself or what I who I think I should be internally. Like we could go on that rabbit hole, but like say I'm just mildly irritated at my partner, and I can rationalize and be like, I know they're not meaning to do this or that, or like I know I'm just being sensitive right now. Okay, that can all be true, but let's say I do it again and again and again, and this thing keeps on happening, or a set of things keep on happening. At some point, I've noticed in me, I'm gonna be like, "What the f, dude?" Like, and he's gonna be like, I just asked how your day was," right? Or
Right.
whatever. That's maybe not a great example, but like, I just did this little thing that wasn't a big deal, but you reacted like there's this huge deal. And so I think that's one of the ways that pushing aside things can result in a projection on somebody else. Like whether he was actually doing something that felt insensitive or whether he was doing something totally normal that I just was triggered by in some way, like
Yeah.
either way, I'm going to like at some point probably erupt on him. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not fair. Would have been a lot better if I could have just be like, "Ooh, I feel a thing," and like deal with it.
Yeah.
And then if it is actually like, oh, like, ooh, and we can talk about like, how do I do that? How do you do that in a second? But like, if I feel a thing, let myself actually look at it with curiosity and compassion and not just like shove it down. Then I can like, is this about like an old wound? Is this like, oh, it reminds me of something another partner did that was like actually intentionally, you know, crappy or whatever? Is this causing fear in me? And or is this actually like, oh, I actually kind of feel disrespected by this?
Yeah.
Like if I give myself space to feel these things, I can let the emotions come and then act in a way that's responsive and not reactive. I'm not just like, you did this thing and I'm mad at you. It's like, hey, I felt this way. I noticed I felt this way. I explored it and I realized, I don't think you're doing anything wrong, but I'm perceiving it this way. Or, hey, like I realized when you do this, I feel this way. Is there a way that you could do this differently? If you actually let yourself feel and like connect with your feelings and be curious about them, then you don't just emotionally explode on somebody later on or internalize challenging feelings so much that you're just feeling crappy all the time.
Yeah. So let's kind of take it back to, because that's like very specific, like
Yeah.
harboring your feelings and pushing your
Yes.
feelings down, where this is just
There are so
like,
many other things we could
yeah,
do here. Yeah.
yeah, where we're kind of looking at more so like when you're in a mood and you don't know why you're in your
Mm-hmm.
mood. So then you end up internalizing that stuff, that those
Yeah.
little things that people do.
Yeah. And that's like, it's like a weaving thing.
It-
It's like a chicken or the egg kind of thing. But
yeah.
like, what's another example for you? What have you kind of experienced and seen? Like,
Well,
what happens when you don't connect with your feelings?
so a lot of the times when I'm in those places where everything just seems to be going wrong, the one thing that I notice the most is that I'm just mad at everything.
Mm.
And that not only am I mad at everything, but everything I do looks like crap, right? That everything is just not working, that I get set into this whole spiral of downward whatevers because my energy is off, something is wrong.
Yeah.
And so then I could get triggered easily by something that somebody does. But, and then I have to give myself that, like, hold on, why are you so mad? Like, you literally, there's no one's done anything to you. Like, you were having a good day. What is this click that happened where now everything's just falling apart? Kind of idea. And so for me, like, I think it is so important to recognize for yourself that that is what's happening and feel your emotions like you're saying. Um, I'm trying to think of an example. I have so many. I used to do Uber and Lyft, and, like, everybody that got in the car, they would say something, and I would take it so personally, it would piss me off. And then, like, I would try to go create something, and I couldn't get it. Like, things would take longer for me to do it because I was having
Like you
such
were
emotions.
blocked or
Yeah,
something
because I'm
almost?
so blocked that, like,
Yeah.
writing something or creating something just wasn't going to happen because I am so emotional, for an unknown reason, that what I do is I give myself what I call a self-pity day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, if I have the opportunity, I just go home. I watch a crappy movie that was going to make me cry because I don't know why I need to cry, or one that will make me feel good, usually in the Adam Sandler range.
Classic.
Like, you know, um, and I allow myself to eat nourishing food, comfort food. I don't judge myself for what food I'm going to be eating. And I just let myself wallow in whatever mood I'm in, and not necessarily attempt to try to figure out what the mood is in, but allow that processing of my brain that's trying to figure out what in the world is going on to just kind of shut down and go into a void, so that things can pop up and bubble up, so that things can rise to the surface, so that I can be like, okay, well, today's just not working because I have this big processing that's happening.
I love the compassion and the like just awareness that that gives you of like it's okay that maybe I'm just not having a highly productive day because something else is going on.
Yes. Yeah, I'll give this example. My friend today said, I can't go do this with you today because I'm in a mood. And I said, that's awesome. Good,
Mm-hmm.
good for you for recognizing that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Know that this mood is temporary
Yeah.
and your feelings are valid. I'll talk to you about chicken later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know,
I love
like,
that.
you don't need to explain what's going on. I don't need to know what mood you're in. Like,
And if that person is saying, I know I need to stay home, right? Like, or do whatever, do something different.
mm-hmm.
I think there's like different levels of mood that
Mm-hmm.
could be happening to like some moods aren't day killers. Some are totally like day killers. Maybe that's judgmental, but like plan killers. Where
Yeah.
it's like, no, the plan for today needs to change because I'm in such a funk. There's something going on, or I'm in such a mood that I can't be around other people right now, or I can't do something structured. I need unstructured time.
Yes.
And I think I don't lately I've been having some more of that kind of energy in me of just like, I don't know what's happening. I'm not super bummed, but I'm just kind of weird. And I've been needing a lot more just kind of allowing myself to just feel weird.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm doing. Whatever I'm doing. Sometimes I like opt out of a thing, but sometimes I'm like, I feel weird. I'm gonna I feel moody. I feel low. I feel funky. I'm gonna do this thing and just let myself be it, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Like, I had a meeting with some women I run an event with the other day. We all planned that meeting was going to be super productive. But all of us arrived and we were all like, I don't know what it is, but there's like heaviness, there's stuff. So instead, we used an oracle deck to like help process things. We all ended up crying in a healthy, good way.
Yeah.
We all really saw each other. We just let ourselves actually be in the mood.
Can I pause for 1 second?
Yeah.
There is no amount of crying that is not healthy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Continue.
Great point out. Yeah. It was like, I guess when I said healthy, what I really meant in like a way that actually felt beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes you cry and it feels terrible, even if it's good. It's healthy. I agree with you. It's all healthy. But sometimes there's this type of crying that's like you're just letting things move so easily without getting too into the story of something.
Yeah.
That it's like it's so beautiful. That was kind of our experience. I think all of us. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I needed to release this. Maybe this is why I was feeling so heavy, or this was a part of it, or and and you know, we could have each opted out. And if any of us had like opted out of that meeting that day, we full respect. We each of us are, you know, really good at taking care of ourselves and we respect each other, but none of us felt like that low, like your friend did the other day, right? Like we're like just feeling ugh. And we were able to support each other in it by letting it come up and using some like not getting too in the mind about over analyzing.
Yes, because we can do that.
We can do that, and there's place for that too. But well, analyzing on some level, maybe not over analyzing.
Yeah.
But there's when we can give ourselves space for feeling and curiosity. So that's like I don't often get those days that you're describing where it's just like I just need to totally shut down. Usually those are like days for me where it's like I have a migraine and then I'm like those are my shutdown days. So maybe my body is enforcing that.
Maybe because you shoved your feelings down so much, your body's like, here's a migraine.
And that actually, that could be true from the past, but I'm pretty darn good nowadays. But speaking of that though, because I do it subconsciously sometimes, just so now over the past few years that I've been like really trying to pay attention and not do that. I still do it. I'm healing, I'm growing. But now, like, just to give another example of like, okay, I'm not having like a total like plan changer kind of a mood, but I'm having something come up that if I just push it away, it's gonna be weird all day.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I don't like deal with it, it's like it's gonna block me. Just like you were saying, like I can't be creative and I can't do the things because I'm so distracted by my inner state. That's when I take a moment and I try to notice, like, wait a second, am I shoving something down? What is this? Mm-hmm. And I just kind of where there might be, I think for me sometimes there's that judgment of like I don't want to be feeling this way and I shouldn't be feeling this way. It's a judgment. It's deciding that part of me isn't welcome. So I'm like, oh, I'm doing that thing. I'm judging myself. I'm deciding that part of me isn't welcome, and that's why it's like freaking out down here, this emotion. So I try to give myself a moment of just like hands on body usually helps for me, but everyone has there's like different tapping you can do. That's a whole thing. But I try to just take a moment and breathe and just like, wait, what was I just judging? What was that feeling? Oh, okay. I feel that feeling. Oh, okay. Like, and just like saying like, hey, feeling. I feel I literally talk to my feeling. Like, oh, I see you. Oh, you're hurt. Oh, you're really hurt right now. Okay. Oh, I see you. You're allowed to be hurt. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know. Literally talk to myself and like feel it. And then I just kind of let it, if I have the time, the space, the presence, obviously this can be hard to do in every moment. But when I have the time and space for it, like I just kind of let it like be there and let it guide me a little bit. Not over analyzing, but just being curious. Okay, like is this coming from something that just happened? Is it one of those things where you know I am like just taking something personally that wouldn't be, but why am I taking this so personally? Why is it hurting so much? Why am I so mad? Why am I so whatever?
In
And I
this
just
oomph.
kind of, yeah, why am I just so, why do I just feel so, and just giving it a moment to like sift. It's kind of like a mini microcosm of your, I need to just cancel plans for the day. It's like a, okay, can I do that right now? A little bit at least. Sometimes it can pretty quickly remedy something. Other times it just gives me insight like, oh, there's some more to go here.
Well, yeah, we just want to make sure that, like, if you do need to shut down plants, that that's absolutely okay.
100%.
Like,
Yeah.
and
There's just different levels.
there's different levels of understanding all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the awareness that can come from sitting in your emotions is so valuable. Not
Mm-hmm.
even like to just like recognize them. Like, I know that we can't always have our emotions whenever we're having them. Sometimes what I like to do is like, okay, I see you. I feel you. Give me this little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not sweeping it under the rug, but I'm not allowing it to stop because sometimes you
Yes.
can't change plans.
Yes.
Some of us have jobs that we can't like just not
Totally.
do. Um, but I give it that awareness that okay, well, I'm going to take a moment to
Mm-hmm.
actually say, hey, body, I know we're feeling this. We just got to get this done really quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually go and process the bad feelings
Yeah. Later.
afterwards. Yeah.
I do the same thing. I'm like, we will connect in with this later. I'm gonna journal later tonight to make sure I'm
Hmm.
connecting or whatever.
Yes.
Whatever needs to happen. I love that.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, I see you.
I see
I think
you.
that's like,
I'm not ignoring you.
yeah, it's so important. I'm not just saying you don't matter or you're not real.
Well, and I think it's the difference of shoving something down. It's like the difference between shoving it down and acknowledging its presence.
Yeah.
You're giving yourself the opportunity to have the space you need to complete what you need to do, but not putting it away so far, in that special place we like to hide
Mm-hmm.
things in, and then we can never find them again. This is just like, no, you're here, you're going to be here, and we're going to
Mm-hmm.
look at this because, it is important to sit in your feelings and understand
Mm-hmm.
why your feelings are coming up.
Yeah.
Um, and, sitting in those feelings, one example that is really good for like, I don't want to do this. So I do the dark moon readings
Mm-hmm.
last Friday and Thursday, I did not want to do it. And it was like the
Mm.
energy's just not there, but I need to do
Mm-hmm.
this, like, because this is like the energy that I'm supposed to have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called my friend and we sat on the phone for 2 hours and we just talked about blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
But I sat in that emotions and I allowed that, like, those feelings to come up. And what came to resonate with all that understanding through talking and ignoring and just not doing it
Mm-hmm.
was is that I have to have a mind shift focus. So that creates so the block that was happening because I was having emotions about it was
Mm-hmm.
actually a valuable one because it needed to help me refocus
Mm.
into a different thing that I'm supposed to be doing. So that is like the importance of
Beautiful.
sitting and expressing and following your because maybe
Yeah.
you do need to set something down that you've been holding on to or that you think you have to be doing,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't actually have to be doing it. It's like all the energies are trying to pull you away from it. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why, I mean, relationships, like all of it, that can be tagged to so many different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
um your work even like where if you just take the time to sit in the emotions, you can actually figure out why it's coming up. Why am I feeling this? What is going on?
Yeah.
And so like setting down that big thing, because I have so many things that are spreading me in so many different directions with the healing practice, that I'm like, no, I need to dial in. I need to not be so broad on everything. And so I've got to really focus on what's working and what's not. And right now the energy is not calling for this. And I'm going to figure out how to make it so that I can still honor this part of it, but make it way less time.
So valuable. That is so incredibly valuable. And as you're sharing that, what's what I'm being reminded of is actually the fears and objections I've heard many people have to this idea of letting yourself sit and feel your feelings. We've talked about in the past the good vibes only folks.
Oh, the good vibes only folks. Can we talk about that for a minute?
Well, okay, I want to. Okay,
go ahead.
let's bookmark that because it's really important. But so good vibes only, or I actually heard this objection recently, and I totally get where this is coming from. But I said to a friend, like, it's okay if you need to feel a little shitty right now. Like, we'd had a whole conversation. She knew she was like, interpreting things in a way about this event that was like, probably wasn't accurate. It probably was just, it was coming from some fear inside of her, some wound. It was legitimate.
It's coming from somewhere.
It was legitimate. It's just the story she was telling herself was probably inaccurate, but the feeling was real. And so I just, at the end of that conversation, I said something like, if you need to just feel a little shitty about it, you can feel shitty about it. And our other friend was just like, no, that's bad. Don't wallow, all this. And I imagine from her perspective, the fear was, no, if you give any kind of credence at all to this negative feeling coming up, then you're saying it's right, and it just totally takes over, and you're just going to wallow, and you're not going to move on with your life. And I think there's that fear. I think that's where the good vibes only concept and like this like more when we only think about mindset, like if I just get my mindset right, and like the idea that I shouldn't be feeling this way because it's not real and blah blah. Like, I think people fear doing exactly what you did, which was like, I have this big emotion. I'm going to actually let it come out so that I can process what's happening. Oh my God, I now realize I need to reframe and restructure some things.
Yes.
You did a really good, courageous thing, that you were listening to what your emotions and your body was telling you and your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And so often we block that process by deciding that I committed to doing this, so I have to do it, even if I'm having all these feelings. And we're afraid that if I let myself feel the feelings, then I'm going to not do the thing, or I'm going to suddenly fall apart. I think there's a lot of that.
There is absolutely a lot of that, and I think the biggest construct that we have towards feeling is owning our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Because we say, I am sad, I am feeling depressed, I am feeling, and I
Mm-hmm.
think we've talked about this before.
Probably.
But in our American language, we take ownership of all of our feelings.
I'm gonna offer a different language. We like identify with our feelings.
Yes, identify, that's the
Because
word.
I think taking ownership in this, like, I can own, like, I'm feeling sad, and I want to own that so that I don't just say I don't need to feel sad.
Well, okay, so here's where
Maybe there's some language.
there's some
thing.
language, because you're
Yeah.
taking ownership of this feeling. I am this.
Yeah,
You're
and I just
saying,
look at that as
I
identifying.
am, and
Yeah,
you're identifying it,
I
and you're
am it.
own it.
This is all that's happening to me right
Which
now.
means what? If this is who I am now, this is all I'll ever be, which is where this good vibe only comes in.
Yeah.
So like the Irish
Mm-hmm.
in Gaelic,
Yeah.
they don't say, I'm sad, I'm happy,
Mm-hmm.
I'm hungry. They actually say, sadness is on me.
Oh, that's so good.
Anger is on me. So like they're
so
not
good.
creating an identity with their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's really what gets people think that by feeling their feelings, because of the way that our language works, that is what we become.
Yes.
And it isn't what we become. They are parts and pieces. They're moving, and we're not always going to be sad. It's temporary.
But we fear. I think we fear
Fear.
so strongly that when we let those challenging, let's say negative emotions in, we so fear that that's how we're going to feel for the rest of our lives. Even if it's illogical, I think that's part of why we avoid them.
And I was going to say, when actually by not allowing yourself to feel them, you will hold on to them for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And they will come out and express, kind of like we were talking about earlier with your boyfriend, where it's going to come out as an explosion somewhere else. And this is where we get those layers and the cycles of healing that come in.
Totally.
Is because we're too scared to look at our emotions. And lately I've been turning everything into an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Like every time I look at something, well, this is an opportunity to explore this. This is an opportunity to grow. This is an opportunity, and so
Yeah.
like you can use mindset and change how you're saying things. Um, like
It's
by saying that
really
sadness is on
helpful.
you.
Yeah.
It's a way to be in good
Yeah.
vibes without denying yourself
Yes.
your woes.
It's not good vibes only. It's good vibes.
It's good
We
vibes.
love good vibes.
We love good vibes. Good vibes are always welcome, but it's important to feel your woes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we'll just touch on this because you and I have talked about this a little bit. It's important not to get lost in your woes.
That's the identifying.
And
Like you said,
that's
like
where
I am my woe.
I am
Yeah.
my woes. I am this. Now I'm the victim of my own emotions. And you can do that both ways by being good vibes only.
Yeah.
You can definitely get swept up
By
into
rejecting your
by
feelings.
rejecting
Yeah.
your feelings.
Yeah.
But you can also and so I understand where people in the mindset of saying like what your friend was saying of like, no, you have to, like, life is short, you have to do this. It's like, well, but it is short. But so our emotions are even shorter.
Our emotions move quickly when we let them.
Yes.
Even if they come back. I think grief is a really strong example of one of these emotions that when you let grief fully move through you, there's waves that come. It doesn't mean that one wave of grief and you're just done with that emotion about that situation. You might have more waves to come, but the more you let them move and the lighter the waves become, ultimately.
And the further apart.
And the further apart. And of course, we can have triggers that,
Mm-hmm.
bring that up again. It just means there's more to release and heal. But we just have to learn to ride the waves instead of somehow trying to contain the ocean.
Yeah. Oh man, I was thinking I had an Instagram post that I did the other day that was like, emotions are like waves. They come in heavy, but they always roll out or something like that,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like, yes, you are allowed to feel your feelings, but don't get stuck in your feelings, like using that. And so that's where I throw in the word opportunity.
Yes.
Because it's an opportunity to understand why you're having that, and an opportunity to go deeper into, like you were saying, into that.
And I think like the opportunity, the self-compassion that you show yourself, that I show myself, I practice doing it. I'm not always perfect in that for sure, but it's when we can pair that with the curiosity of, a common question I ask myself. I don't know if I've mentioned this already, but like, well, what story am I telling myself? Is one of the gentlest ways I find that I can kind of ask myself, like, where is this coming from? And sometimes it's not, sometimes it's just like, I just have a well of emotion. I don't know where. I don't know where. But asking myself that question can still, like, well, maybe the story I'm telling myself is this well of emotion isn't welcome, because if I let myself acknowledge that I'm feeling all this, then it's going to overwhelm me and I shouldn't feel this way. Like, even if it's, it can be as simple as, when your friend told you, "Hey, I'm in a mood. I'm not going to join you today." And of course you were like, "Yeah, I respect you. I trust your intuition. You're taking care of yourself." On the flip side, another way that could have gone, I don't think this would have gone this way for you at this time, but oh, she didn't want to come be with me. She didn't want to come. Like, my friend said she doesn't want to come spend time with me just because she's in a mood. Does she think I wouldn't be able to support her? Can I not help her? Or what's going, right? Like, we can start telling ourselves those stories and over analyzing. Now I'm creating tension and emotions because of a story. If I can notice, like, I'm feeling all this tension and emotions, like, okay, the tension and emotions, all this anxiety, this fear, whatever I'm feeling, okay, it's valid. I can feel that. What story am I telling myself that's connected to this? Oh, it's that my friend doesn't really love me or doesn't value me. Oh, okay. Well, I know that's not true, and I know that I respect her choice. So, where is that coming from then? Why would I assume that about her? Oh, and then you can go down, and oftentimes we have like other events that have happened that have unmoved emotion, right? That just needs to kind of come out. And it's using this opportunity to like knock on the door of our subconscious, like, just, hey, like, let me out.
Yeah, and I love what you're bringing up because there's two things. In the healing community, we've probably all read the Four Agreements, right? And one of the agreements is to not take things personally. So there's that, like, where you're coming in and saying, stop, this isn't actually about me. This is coming from somewhere else. It's not about my friend rejecting me, but
It's something
else. But there's something that's not talked about enough, and that is what you're talking about is actually the fifth agreement, where it's question everything. So why am I having this come up? I know my friend loves me. I know they want to spend time with me. I know this stuff. So where is this coming from? What is happening here? And when we get into this mindset, we want to go back to what you were talking about earlier. When you get into a mindset of like, I can only think happy things, we tend to shut down that opportunity to ask ourselves the questions, to go in deeper, to see where and what needs to be looked at.
I love how so I love how you just said that. Because I can trick myself into thinking that I'm really healthy and like really healed or whatever that means. I think we're all always like potentially healing or potentially healed, depending on how we want to look at it or claim it. But like I can convince myself that I'm great as long as I keep my emotions at bay and as long as I never let anything challenging come up, I'm just doing so fine. But if I'm never, if I'm doing that, I'm actually denying my opportunities to emotionally heal. Like if I actually just feel good all the time, really? Really?
It's a
Like
grand idea.
yeah, but it's not the human experience.
No, because we need that balance of the light and the dark, the good and the bad. It's just part of who we are.
It's like a spectrum. It's
just
we vacillate.
Well, and as healers, the more you look and the more light you obtain in your life and the more you bring up into your life, the more of the darkness you're going to start seeing because you're becoming a brighter light. And so it requires, especially if you hear healers saying good vibes only, I question that because it's like as you grow in your light and as you grow in your healing, you're going to be illuminating everything that's around you.
And you're going to see
and you're
things that have been held in darkness, meaning
or
just
feel
in
it.
shadow or feel it. Yeah.
And it's going to pop up in ways in ways and times that are unexpected because of certain things, or it's just time to look at it. You know, like I've had things appear that like kept cropping up for a month and I couldn't figure out why this memory kept coming until I asked the question, what am I supposed to learn from this? I thought this was done. And it wasn't until I had that opportunity to ask those questions that this whole thing unraveled. And I had like a 2.5 week of actually being physically sick because of like asking the right questions and getting to like, it felt like wax melting, you know, but it was like, I didn't know this was coming from, but there was nothing that triggered this, but it was an emotion that appeared.
A buildup.
Yeah, it was like a buildup. It was like a 20-year-old buildup.
Yeah.
That was like, okay, like the zit that's about to pop. You know? Like, it's just ready to go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've got other metaphors we can use for the day, but that's a really realistic one. I think like as you're describing that, like first of all, that's how powerful our emotions are, and that's what it means to keep them. We think we're just dealing with them when we don't look at them or when we just say I shouldn't feel that way.
Yeah.
When we're good vibes only gaslighting ourselves.
Oh yeah, good vibes only gaslighting.
But or we can also do that unconsciously or unintentionally,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just like I don't even know what I'm feeling or how to feel or how to process this, so I'm just gonna. I always do this motion, like I'm just gonna kind of shove it down or put it in a corner and like gonna like just tight away there so I don't notice it or I don't
Mm-hmm.
see it anymore. It's like shoving it in a closet. But my I've heard two really good metaphors for this. You know, like say we're all soda bottles, like those
Mm-hmm.
big liter soda bottles. Like we get shaken up.
Yeah.
We just get shaken up and we have energy moving, carbonation. You know, what happens when you just take off the bottle, the top?
It's gonna
It's just going to go
shoot
everywhere.
everywhere.
And that happens, and that's it's not good or bad. It's just what happens sometimes. And sometimes we're sick for 2 weeks.
I was just thinking it was like, and then someone pops some Mentos in it, and that's the
And
trigger.
then that's just like so yeah. So maybe yeah, that's
Yeah.
the trigger.
The Mentos are the trigger.
So
Sorry.
so yeah, that's a good visual too. But like another way we can look at this like regularly connecting in with what we're feeling instead of being like I'm just gonna not feel the stuff or I'm just gonna feel really crappy and not know why and just try to ignore it and just say I'm having a bad day and I'm not even gonna look at it. We can instead recognize we're all getting shaken up. But what happens if I
Stub your toe.
no, but yeah, exactly. What if I release the bottle a little bit at a
Oh,
time?
I
Like
see what you're doing. Yeah, yeah.
you're like, I don't get
I don't
I
get
don't
it,
get
but
this.
now I get it.
This is me holding the bottle. You
You're
know, just
releasing
like
the pressure,
releasing
feeling
the
the by
pressure.
feeling the feelings.
Yeah, because maybe you're just getting shaken up a little and then you release some pressure, release some pressure. Like, and if you need to just open up the bottle and explode, do that in a way that's like healthy and safe, not on somebody, but go scream in your car. Lord knows I do that occasionally, or let that waterfall of tears come out,
Mm-hmm.
or rage dance at a concert or whatever. Like let it flow. Like
Yeah.
it's okay.
And if you're not quite sure what the emotion is
Mm-hmm.
and you know that you need to bring it up but you can't get yourself to the edge of it,
Yeah.
that's when I like to use tools like movies where I know I'm going to
Perfect.
cry
Mm-hmm.
or I know I'm going to be angry or
Yeah.
whatever that emotion is so that that can bring up all that stuff. And sometimes like through, even though I'm crying because of the movie, I'm really allowing myself the I know I'm crying more so because
Of something.
of something. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
was trying to get out.
And I think that's a really important point. Like I like to connect in and ask what I'm feeling,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes that's not accessible. And sometimes we feel things or we have emotional expressions that we can't really classify as one certain emotion from one certain event. And it doesn't really matter. Like, as long as you're letting stuff move, it's okay if you don't even fully understand it.
Well, and not to, and we can talk about this in more depth later, but another really fascinating point of that, of what you're just talking about, and not knowing what the emotion is that sometimes we're holding stuff over from other generations, and
Mm-hmm.
it's time to let go, or some things that we don't even remember because we can't
Yeah.
remember everything all the time. But sometimes it is actually probably some of the best healing you can do is not identifying and naming what it is that you're releasing and just releasing it, because if you don't know
Totally.
what it is, you can't go looking for it again.
Yeah. Oh, I love how you said that. And it's like, yeah, I think I was mentioning this earlier, but sometimes I've had the most beautiful releases when I don't know what the feeling is
Mm-hmm.
or when there's no story to it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like sobbing. And I'm like, I don't know. I just needed to cry and it feels pure
Yeah.
somehow. It's releasing who knows what. I don't
Who
know.
knows what it is, but you're letting it go.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that whole like, if you don't know what it is, you're not going to go chasing it.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to recreate it or try to heal it. You just
Yeah.
need to release it.
It's like that don't go chasing waterfalls.
Yes. Yes.
Is that what they're talking about?
Let him, probably. Probably exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I feel like we could talk about this forever.
We really could.
But yeah,
It's a complex
it's
subject.
really complex and it's very personal.
Yeah.
Like how I might look at things in me might not be exactly how somebody else looks at them, right? Or we might have different levels of how moods affect our days, or what helps and
or
what doesn't.
how we can express it. The important part
Yeah.
is to find your tools,
Yeah.
but the message is the same. And I think the message is clear as day. We gotta allow ourselves to flow through our
Mhm.
emotions as much as we can, and the right times that we can,
Yeah.
and that we don't trap ourselves
Yeah.
in the emotions,
Yeah.
and to not get lost in our own emotions.
Yeah. We can claim, like, I'm feeling all sorts of things, but I'm not going to be a victim of the feelings, or
Yes.
own them to this point where I'm identifying as them, or decide that I'm powerless because I'm having these feelings. No, no. We're powerful because we get to have the feelings.
I was going to say you're more powerful because you're allowing
Yes.
yourself the feelings.
Yeah. And it takes courage. It really takes courage, especially when you haven't been doing it regularly. I think I know a lot of people who are like, I hear you that you're telling me you need to feel things to heal things, right? That's a more and more common phrase I think I've been hearing more often. But yay, exactly. But I've heard a lot of people say, like, I am way too afraid of what that means and what that experience will be. So, I mean, I think we could both say, like, it takes courage, it's bravery, it's a whole adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not for the faint of heart. This is for strength. This is for self-love. This is like an act of courage and trust in your own ability to ride those waves. So yeah, it's bold.
It's
Good.
bold.
It's bold.
And if that's the only thing you can take away from this conversation, then that's all that really
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.